Ladies and gentlemen, today is not just another day. It's not just another moment in the timeline of your life. Today is a threshold, a doorway, a call to rise. Because the truth is simple, your next level will never be reached by the version of you standing here right now. Every breakthrough in your life requires a break from who you've been, your patterns, your excuses, your limitations. We all say we want more and more success, more confidence, more impact, but wanting means nothing unless you're willing to evolve into the person capable of holding that more. Your comfort zone has gifted you your current results. But your future, that extraordinary future you dream about, it demands someone stronger, bolder, more disciplined, more committed. It demands a new state of mind, a new strategy, a new identity. Think about it. The habits that brought you here won't take you there. The beliefs you cling to might be the very chains holding you back. Transformation begins the moment you stop negotiating with your limitations and instead decide to become the version of you that your destiny is waiting for. So today, I'm not here to motivate the old you. I'm here to karaoke and the real you, the one buried under doubt, fear, and hesitation, because deep inside there is a version of you that is powerful beyond measure, a giant that has been sleeping, and today we wake that giant up. So many people crave a new level of success, but they try to get there by doing the same things they've always done. It's like planting apple seeds and expecting oranges. Old habits are comfortable, they're familiar, they feel safe, and they require no stretch beyond who you currently are. But comfort is the silent killer of progress. The truth is your habits are the architects of your life. Every action you consistently take compounds into results, and those results become your reality. If you look at where you are right now, you are looking at the sum of your habits, not your ideas, not your wishes, but your patterns. When someone says they want to level up, but they refuse to change how they think, how they react, how they spend their time, they're simply hoping, not evolving. Hope isn't a strategy. Action is. Old habits operate like invisible chains. They bind you to routines that feel normal, but normal is the enemy of extraordinary. If you wake up every day doing what you've always done because it's what you're used to, you end up living the same year 90 times and calling it a life. Growth demands disruption. It requires you to abandon the familiar to step into the unknown. Most people won't do that because the unknown is uncertain. But here's the paradox: nothing new comes from certainty. Every breakthrough exists on the other side of discomfort, and your habits are the vehicle that takes you there. If you continue to cling to patterns that no longer serve you, you'll suffocate the potential of who you're meant to become. Think about your morning routines, your sleep patterns, your diet, your language, your work ethic, your emotional responses. These aren't just tiny moments. They're commitments to the identity you currently live in. If those habits are fueled by procrastination, distraction, excuses, or fear, they are pulling you away from growth, not toward it. The people you admire, the ones who achieve greatness, they didn't get there by accident. They deliberately shattered old patterns. They recognize that surrounding yourself with comfort is the fastest way to kill possibility. They embraced new disciplines long before results showed up. They understood that the biggest shifts happen internally before they manifest externally. Most people try to change results while keeping the same habits. They say, I want to be healthier while eating the same foods. I want to be wealthier while spending the same way. I want better relationships while communicating with the same emotional patterns. Change doesn't work that way. You can't cheat growth. If you try to step into the next level while holding on to old habits, you create internal tension, a battle between who you are and who you want to be. The moment you release those habits is the moment you give permission for a new identity to rise. Every day ask yourself, are my habits aligned with the life I say I want? This question is simple, but the answer is brutally honest. If the answer is no, then you must create new routines that support the version of you capable of reaching your next level. Start with small shifts. Momentum doesn't require perfection. It requires consistency. Every new habit, even tiny, begins to rewire your identity. You prove to yourself that you can evolve. And once that belief is unlocked, everything changes. Transformation isn't about adding more. It's about eliminating what holds you back. If you remove old habits that drain your energy, clarity, confidence, creativity, and courage, you create space for habits that elevate them. Your potential is not defined by your intentions. It is defined by your patterns. Old habits will always deliver old results. If you want something you've never had, you must become someone you've never been. That evolution starts in the quiet moments of discipline, not in the loud moments of desire. Your next level is waiting, but it refuses to meet the old you. So many people try to change their lives by changing what they do, but they never pause to change who they believe they are. That's why transformation never sticks. You can force action for a day, a week, maybe even a month. But if your identity remains the same, you will always snap back like a rubber band to your old patterns. Identity is the core operating system behind every decision, every reaction, and every habit. If you believe you are lazy, you will behave lazily regardless of how many motivational videos you watch. If you believe you are unworthy, you will sabotage every opportunity no matter how many chances life gives you. Real transformation happens when you don't just try harder. You shift who you are at the deepest level. Every breakthrough begins with a new identity. Think about any dramatic personal transformation you've witnessed. It was never just a new routine. It was a new story that person told themselves about who they were. The moment someone says, I am disciplined, even if they're not yet perfect, their behavior begins to align with that identity. They start waking up earlier, staying focused, and honoring their commitments because their actions follow who they believe themselves to be. The identity shift precedes the behavior shift, not the other way around. This is why people fail their resolutions. They try to graft new behaviors onto an old identity that rejects them like a foreign body. Your identity is shaped by repetition, environment, and meaning. The more you tell yourself the same story, I procrastinate, I can't speak confidently, I'm not good enough, the deeper that neural groove becomes. Eventually, it feels like truth when really it's just practice. But the flip side is just as powerful. You can rehearse a new identity into existence. Begin telling yourself a new story. I am the kind of person who follows through. I am the kind of person who prioritizes growth. I am the kind of person who faces fear. Speak it even before you believe it. Feel it even before you see it. Behavior will naturally begin to match that internal script. Another reason identity is so important is because it controls what we tolerate. If your identity is low, you will accept low standards, toxic relationships, and weak habits. But when your identity rises, your standards rise with it. You stop tolerating excuses. You stop negotiating with your comfort zone. You stop settling for good enough. You become allergic to anything that doesn't align with the version of you you're becoming. At this point, transformation becomes easier, not harder, because you are no longer forcing behavior. You are simply acting in accordance with who you believe you are. Identity also influences how you interpret challenges. When you face setbacks, your identity decides whether you see them as signals to quit or signals to grow. If your identity is fragile, adversity becomes proof that you should retreat. But if your identity is rooted in resilience, adversity becomes a forge that strengthens you. This is why two people can face the same struggle and turn out completely differently. One is defined by the pain, the other is refined by it. The difference isn't what they experienced, it's who they believed they were. To evolve your identity, start by visualizing the version of you who already lives at your next level. How do they think? How do they speak? How do they react under stress? How do they spend their time? Write it down. Then begin embodying that person now, not later, not when conditions are perfect, now. It's not fake, it's becoming. Every time you make a decision aligned with that identity, you reinforce it. Every time you choose growth over comfort, you strengthen it. Soon, what once felt forced becomes natural. What once felt uncomfortable becomes normal. What once felt impossible becomes obvious. Your next level demands a new identity because the old you can't hold the weight of your future. The dreams you want require a stronger mindset, a sharper focus, and a deeper belief in your worth. Changing your identity is not about pretending. It's about remembering deep down, you already are that person you've just forgotten. It's time to remember who you were meant to be and become the identity that matches the life you desire. When your identity shifts, everything else follows. Your environment is one of the most powerful forces shaping your destiny. Yet most people underestimate its influence, like to believe we are driven solely by our ambitions, our discipline, or our dreams. But the truth is you rise or fall to the level of the environment you consistently expose yourself to. Your surroundings either challenge you to grow or invite you to shrink. Every day, you are absorbing energy, mindsets, habits, and standards from the people and spaces around you, whether you realize it or not. If you're surrounded by negativity, excuses, gossip, and low standards, eventually you unconsciously adopt the same patterns. It's impossible to fly when you spend your life sitting in a cage built by other people's limitations. Your environment includes the people you interact with, the content you consume, the routines you keep, and even the physical spaces you occupy. When you surround yourself with people who complain more than they create, doubt more than they believe, and fear more than they act, you slowly mirror that behavior. Human beings are wired to conform. We adapt our identity to fit our tribe. So if your circle doesn't inspire you, challenge you, or hold you accountable, you're not in a circle, you're in a cage. To reach your next level, you must ruthlessly evaluate who and what surrounding you contributes to your growth and what holds you back. High growth environments are intentional. They're filled with people who are playing life at a higher standard, people who think bigger, dream brighter, and execute stronger. When you witness someone chasing audacious goals, you begin to expand your belief of what is possible. Their courage infects you. Their discipline influences you. Their progress pushes you. Iron sharpens iron. But the opposite is true as well. When you are surrounded by mediocrity, you begin to normalize average. You stop stretching, you stop risking, you stop growing. Eventually, your next level becomes just another abandoned aspiration stuffed under the weight of someone else's disbelief. Environment isn't just social, it's sensory and emotional too. The space you work in influences your energy. Clutter creates chaos, darkness creates lethargy, noise creates distraction. Meanwhile, an organized, bright, inspiring space ignites focus and clarity. Something as simple as reorganizing your room, changing your workspace, or placing visual reminders of your goals can radically shift your state. Your environment should be a physical manifestation of who you're becoming, not a reminder of who you used to be. Another often overlooked part of environment is the content you consume, the music you listen to, the social media you scroll, the videos you watch, the books you read. These are all emotional environments. They either feed your confidence or starve it. They either fill your mind with doubt or fuel it with conviction. You may not control every part of your physical surroundings, but you absolutely control what you feed your mind. Growth environments are forward-focused. They don't dwell on the past. They don't nurture excuses. They don't justify laziness. They create pressure, the good kind. Growth pressure reveals your potential. It forces you to elevate your efforts, sharpen your priorities, and follow through on your commitments. When the people around you are winning, you're inspired to win too. Success becomes contagious. Many people hesitate to change their environment because it requires difficult decisions. It might mean distancing yourself from relationships that drain you. It might mean seeking mentors who challenge you. It might mean moving away from familiar comfort into unfamiliar opportunity. But remember, comfort is seductive. It whispers that staying the same is safe. Yet the cost of comfort is potential. If your environment doesn't push you beyond who you are, it will lock you into who you've been. Take inventory. Who are you surrounded by? What conversations dominate your time? What energy fills your space? If you want to evolve, create an environment where growth is the default, not the exception. Connect with people who think bigger. Engage with content that elevates you. Organize spaces that encourage clarity. Set boundaries that protect your peace. Build habits that reinforce excellence. When your environment elevates you, growth becomes effortless. When it restricts you, you must fight just to stay afloat. Your next level requires you to build a life around your goals, not squeeze your goals into the life you currently have. Transformation becomes easier when your environment is designed to support the person you're becoming. Surround yourself with people and spaces that breathe life into your ambition, not those that silently suffocate it. Because when your environment elevates, you elevate with it. Adversity is often misunderstood. Most people see it as an obstacle, a barrier, something meant to stop them. But what if adversity isn't happening, Lars, to you, but for you? What if the struggles you're fighting through today are shaping the exact strength, discipline, and resilience you'll need for your next level? Every person who has accomplished something extraordinary has been forged through challenge. Pain is the furnace that builds character. Hard moments force you to dig deeper than you ever have, to discover parts of yourself that comfort could never reveal. You don't grow stronger lifting feather weight problems. You grow by pushing against resistance. The heavier the weight, the greater the muscle. Life works no differently. When everything is easy, you cruise. You don't question your habits. You don't push your limits. You don't elevate your standards. Comfort creates stagnation. But adversity wakes something primal within you. It forces you to evaluate what you're doing, who you're becoming, and what you truly want. You begin to examine your beliefs. Those quiet assumptions about who you are and what you're capable of. Challenges show you where your faith is fragile, where your discipline is weak, and where your identity is unstable. They break open the parts who you've been ignoring and expose the areas that need growth. Without adversity, you would remain asleep to your own potential. Adversity also teaches perspective. People who have never been tested often crumble at the first sign of pressure. Their confidence is shallow because it's never been proven. But those who have walked through fire develop a different posture. They carry a quiet strength, a calm focus they know they can endure because they already have. When new challenges emerge, they don't panic because they've built that muscle. They understand that storms don't last forever, and on the other side of every storm is clarity. The person who avoids adversity may have temporary comfort, but the person who embraces adversity gains permanent growth. We often forget that diamonds are formed under pressure. Steel is forged in heat. Trees grow deeper roots in harsh winds. Nature itself reveals a universal truth. Struggle bursts strength. So when life pushes you, instead of asking, why me? Ask, what is this trying to teach me? The lesson might be resilience, patience, humility, focus, emotional control, discipline, or faith. Growth never shows up wrapped in comfort. It shows up disguised as difficulty. Adversity also reveals your circle. When life gets tough, pay attention to who stands beside you. Some people will disappear. Their loyalty was conditional. Others will show up stronger. You'll discover the relationships truly meant for your journey. Hardship clarifies who deserves access to your energy. It filters your environment, aligning you with people who support growth, not weakness. Your next level requires this clarity. Another incredible aspect of adversity is how it introduces you to yourself. You learn how you respond under pressure. Do you run? Do you freeze? Do you fight? Do you adapt? That awareness is priceless. Because once you know your patterns, you can intentionally change them. Hard times give you a mirror. They don't just show you who you are. They show you who you could become. They ignite hunger. They awaken creativity. They sharpen intuition. When life compresses you, you're forced to stretch. Most importantly, adversity builds identity. Think about your proudest moments. There are rarely times when everything was easy. There are moments when you overcame, endured, pressed forward when quitting felt easier. The struggle becomes part of your story. It shifts your internal narrative from I can't to I did. And once you prove to yourself that you can rise above hardship, you become unstoppable. You stop fearing failure because you now understand you can survive it. Your next level will demand a stronger version of you, and adversity is the training ground. It gives you the emotional armor and mental clarity required to operate at higher altitudes. Success is not built in comfort. It's built in challenge. So don't resist adversity. Stand up, breathe deep, and lean in. Life is shaping you, strengthening you, preparing you. Let pain be your teacher. Let struggle be your sculptor. When adversity comes, recognize it for what it truly is, the catalyst that transforms you into someone worthy of your next level. Most people rely on motivation as the driving force behind their dreams, but motivation is unreliable. It comes in waves. Some days you wake up inspired, ready to conquer the world, and other days you feel tired, distracted, or indifferent. If your success depends on how motivated you feel in the moment, then your results will always be inconsistent. That's why discipline is far more powerful than motivation. Motivation is an emotion, discipline is a decision. Motivation fades, discipline sustains. The most successful individuals in any field don't win because they feel like it every day. They win because they've trained themselves to do what needs to be done, especially when they don't feel like it. Discipline is like a muscle. The more you train it, the stronger it becomes. In the beginning, pushing yourself to wake up early, to focus on your work, to eat healthy, to exercise, or to avoid distractions feels uncomfortable. Your old habits scream for attention. Your emotions pull you toward the easy path. But every time you choose discipline over comfort, you build power. You develop internal respect. You prove to yourself that you're in control, not your impulses. Eventually, what was once difficult becomes routine. Discipline turns into identity, and that's when change becomes permanent. One of the biggest benefits of discipline is consistency. Success is not about huge bursts of effort. It's about steady action over time. Small disciplined choices repeated daily compound into massive results. Think of compound interest tiny deposits. Consistently invested create wealth over time. The same principle applies to your habits. A daily workout, even if short, compounds into strength. Reading for 20 minutes a day compounds into knowledge. Practicing your craft for an hour a day compounds into mastery. Discipline turns time into a tool rather than a thief. Motivation, on the other hand, is deceptive. It makes you feel productive without necessarily being productive. You can spend hours watching motivational content and feel pumped, but feelings don't create results, execution does. Discipline is what you turn to when motivation is gone. It is the voice that says, get up, keep going, do it anyway. And ironically, the more disciplined you become, the more motivation you experience, because progress creates momentum, and momentum fuels excitement. Discipline creates the very motivation people keep waiting for. Another crucial aspect of discipline is emotional control. When you are disciplined, you don't make decisions based on temporary feelings. You follow your standards, not your moods. You become the commander instead of the follower of your emotions. This emotional control is essential because your next level requires stability, not impulsiveness. People who lack discipline are constantly swayed by distraction, procrastination, fear, and doubt. They know what they should do, but they negotiate with themselves until the opportunity passes. Discipline ends negotiation. It replaces excuses with action. Discipline also builds self-respect. Every time you keep a promise to yourself, whether that's sticking to a schedule, finishing a task, or resisting temptation, you gain trust in your own character. Most people lose battles not because they are incapable, but because they break promises to themselves repeatedly. Their word loses power. Discipline restores that power. It strengthens your integrity. And when you respect yourself, others begin to respect you too. Your environment will always test your discipline. Comfort, convenience, and distraction are everywhere. But discipline teaches you to prioritize long-term reward over short-term pleasure. It reminds you that the pain of discipline is far lighter than the pain of regret. When you operate with discipline, you stop chasing instant gratification and begin building lasting fulfillment. People admire disciplined individuals because discipline creates freedom. It gives you control over your time, your energy, and your future. While others drift, you direct. While others wish you build, discipline becomes a silent competitive advantage. It allows you to outperform people with more talent, more resources, or more opportunities because you simply refuse to stop. Your next level will not arrive because you were motivated for a moment. It will arrive because you were disciplined for months, even years. When you stop waiting to feel ready and commit to action regardless of emotion, you unlock doors few people ever reach. Discipline is the bridge between your goals and your reality, and the moment you master it, you become unstoppable. Your standards are like the thermostat of your life. They regulate the level of success, fulfillment, and growth you experience. No matter what you dream about or desire, you will always gravitate back to the level of your standards. You don't get what you want, you get what you're willing to tolerate. Many people dream of greatness, wealth, purpose, and impact, but their standards are built on convenience rather than commitment. They say they want a better life, but they settle for excuses, distractions, and low effort. Your next level doesn't care about your dreams. It responds to your standards. When you raise your standards, you raise your life. Standards are not wishes. They are non-negotiables. They are the rules you set for yourself, the internal commitment you refuse to break. The moment you decide, I don't skip workouts, I don't quit when things get hard, I don't surround myself with negativity, is the moment your identity begins to shift. Your standards determine how you show up, how you speak to yourself, how you treat your goals, and how you respond under pressure. They create invisible boundaries that protect your progress, your mindset, and your energy. Without high standards, success is impossible to sustain because low standards always find a way to sabotage high aspirations. Think about the areas of your life where you've excelled. Chances are you held high standards there. Maybe it was work ethic, discipline, fitness, relationships, or mastery of a skill. When your standards are high in a specific area, you don't need external motivation. You operate from inner necessity. But the areas where you struggle are usually the areas where your standards are too low. If you struggle with time management, maybe you tolerate lateness. If you struggle with money, maybe you tolerate overspending. If you struggle with confidence, maybe you tolerate negative self-talk. Low standards create leaky boundaries. You allow behaviors, thoughts, and habits that drain your potential. Your standards also dictate your environment. When your standards rise, some people will drift away, not because you rejected them, but because they can no longer operate at your frequency. High standards demand accountability. They challenge mediocrity. They threaten complacency. This is uncomfortable for those committed to staying average, but that discomfort is the price of growth. If you keep lowering your standards to make others comfortable, you will never elevate to the level you were meant to reach. Your next chapter requires you to stop dimming your light for people who prefer the dark. Raising your standards also requires emotional courage. It means saying no when you previously said yes. It means sticking to commitments long after the feeling has faded. It means disappointing people who benefited from your lower standards. Growth requires tough decisions, decisions that the old you avoided. But every time you honor your new standard, you reinforce the identity of a stronger, more disciplined version of yourself. And once that identity takes hold, you no longer need to force behaviors. You simply act in alignment with who you now are. Standards shape habits, and habits shape destiny. When you raise the standard for your health, you stop debating whether you should eat clean or exercise. You just do. When you raise the standard for your work ethic, you don't negotiate with procrastination. You start and finish. When you raise the standard for relationships, you walk away from toxicity, immaturity, and disrespect without apology. Standards protect you from self-sabotage by making certain actions unacceptable. Dreams without standards are fantasies. They feel good, but they lack structure. Standards turn dreams into plans and plans into results. They eliminate the wiggle room that excuses hide in. When you demand more from yourself than anyone else ever would, you develop an unshakable confidence. You stop waiting for permission. You stop leaning on motivation. You stop fearing opinions. You begin to lead yourself with clarity and purpose. Your next level of life will demand standards you've never held before. It will require you to upgrade your discipline, your focus, your resilience, your habits, and your beliefs. The version of you who lives at that level doesn't settle. They don't negotiate with fear. They don't postpone their potential. They honor their standards even when no one is watching. And that's the key. True standards show themselves in private, not public. The world sees your results, but your standards create them behind closed doors. Raise your standards, raise your life, because the moment you expect more from yourself than anyone else possibly could, you unlock a version of you that becomes unstoppable. Your dreams are waiting, but they won't meet you halfway. You must elevate to meet them.